maybe.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you just give us a quick shout out on the chat if you can hear me? Okay, thank you. All right, hi everyone. My name is Knut Fournier. I'm a lecturer here at HKU Space, and I'm here today to talk about the postgraduate diploma in finance and law. So the idea is that some of you may be thinking of signing up, some of you may be thinking of starting, especially in that intake that is just starting in a few weeks, in a few days, and you may be on the fence as to whether you should sign up or not. So what we're going to do, I'm going to have about 30-45 minutes with you to explain to you what the program is about and also potentially answer any questions you may have. Effectively, what the program really does is create a bridge between financial careers on the one hand and legal careers on the other hand. What we really wanted when we created this program is to create a program for maybe legal professionals who want to go more into finance, or for people with a finance or numbers backgrounds who want to go more into legal careers. And I think we've been quite successful in that sense in bridging that gap between finance and the law. And this is really what this program is about, to create a generation of professionals and experts with knowledge and understanding in both fields. The background to that is, of course, that the financial services industry and the legal industry have become more and more international. Now, as we have more and more international banks, law firms, investment banks, and regulators, we have also turned this program into something that is not just looking at Hong Kong, but also international, and also broadly being available to professionals who are interested in not just Hong Kong as a market, but Hong Kong as an international financial market. So in order to really do well into this program, and that's our objective, is that when you graduate, you actually understand the regulation of the financial industry and the issues that we are facing these days in the financial industry. Finance and financial analysis. We're looking at the legal system. We're looking at corporate law, things like the responsibilities of directors and shareholders, IPOs, and we're looking at quantitative skills, so that's more numbers-based. Now, the benefits of the program, meaning the objective of the program, is on the one hand to cover both finance and law comprehensively, to spend as much time as possible diving into both finance and the law. It's a little bit more finance heavy, meaning you have more modules in finance than in law, but we're really spending almost equal amounts of time on both sides. We want a program that is part-time, that is available for you, for professionals, for students who are not just students, but also paralegals and consultants or marketing executives or government officers, and want to study weekends and evenings. We want to create networking opportunities, and that's a big chunk of our program. We want this opportunity for you to really spend time with your peers, but also to meet your lecturers, who most of them are accomplished legal professionals or professionals in the finance industry. And we really wanted to have that networking focus on the program. The idea is also that once you're done with this program, then you have access to that promotion you're looking for. You have access to these kind of new job opportunities that perhaps you couldn't really apply to before, but now you can. Or if you want to further your studies, then you can as well. All right, so I want to give you a couple of examples of the kind of jobs where we have designed this program for you to access, but also the kind of jobs where we have seen our graduates go over the years. For finance jobs, we see a lot of corporate finance specialists, so that's people who really crunch the numbers with companies and banks, financial advisors, financial planning. We see risk management. Obviously, you see the law and finance, the two combined together. Risk managers have that kind of strong profile that obviously looks at risk from a financial perspective, but also have a good, decent understanding of the rules and the regulation. Investment analyst, compliance officer is probably one of the biggest ones, and that's one of these good finance jobs. You know, that's one of these jobs that entry level can pay 30,000, 40,000 Hong Kong dollars, but it's really hard to recruit good compliance officers in Hong Kong. And so we have designed the program so that this is something that you will have looked at. You will have looked at anti-money laundering, KYC regulations, anti-terrorism, financing legislation, etc. And so we do see quite a lot of compliance officers, financial advisors as well, of course. On the legal side of things, we see legal advisor. And legal advisor that will include things like paralegal, contract specialist, legal executive, all these jobs that are kind of not qualified lawyer, but almost, yeah? Advising companies and really helping companies with their deals, with the process and with the law and the legislation. We see quite a lot of regulatory specialists, and that is especially true right now in the fintech industry around Bitcoins and Web3. We see a lot of people going into that industry, and there is really a need for these companies that are very strongly financial businesses and technology businesses. When they enter into the market and say they apply for a Bitcoin license in Hong Kong, they apply for a crypto license in Hong Kong, they need to hire all these specialists of regulatory affairs to explain to them consumer protection in Hong Kong, the legislation around things like keeping accounts separate, anti-money laundering, etc. So we do see quite a lot of regulatory affairs specialists here. Corporate governance and corporate governance consultant, we do see, of course, continuous demand in this area, and that's because Hong Kong has always been and continue to be an international financial market, and these days, especially for mainland companies listed and listing in Hong Kong or raising funds in Hong Kong, the need to understand financial regulation in Hong Kong and generally the law in the Hong Kong SAR, we do see quite a lot of demand in the area. So these are all quite exciting jobs in the sense that you may not spend 20 or 30 or 40 years doing that, but you can see how this is a stepping stone to some even bigger careers afterwards, and this is where really we've put the emphasis into you elevating your career, into you moving on to the next stage thanks to the combination of finance and law. We designed this program because this is where the good jobs are at the moment. We do see careers that are kind of across law and finance, and especially around banking and finance. M&A, mergers and acquisition specialist, which is where I started my career 15 years ago. I really like this area. This is quite an interesting, exciting area of the law. And we do see a lot of interest around M&A specialists looking for to recruit people who can support the deal, people who can work on these complicated mergers and understand both the financial aspect of it, but also the legal aspects of these transactions. Risk and compliance analysts, these are often jobs that are across law and finance, and so we do see a lot of kind of mixed career professionals there. One interesting aspect of the program is the fact that in the classroom you will see a bit of everything. We do see a lot of people from the banking industry. We see some people coming from the education sector, whether it's school administrator or teachers themselves. Of course, we do see government officers, people who come from the uniformed services or various government departments, but also law. You will be sitting with paralegals, people who have been in their legal career for quite a few years already. We've got, interestingly, quite a few people from the medical sector, and then sales and marketing is also very, very common. And I think when you see that there is a large section of the classroom that is from sales and marketing, it kind of tells you exactly what kind of program this is. This is really the program to get out of these jobs. Right? Sales and marketing is a great first job out of university. Recruitment is fairly straightforward, there is demand, the hours are not the worst hours in the world, you don't need any particular qualification to go into sales and marketing, and they recruit even beyond just marketing degrees, degrees in finance and business. but you do feel stuck after a couple of years, or you do feel like you want to get out of there, you just want to do something more, something better, something more interesting. And where are these big jobs? Where is the money in Hong Kong, the big careers, the jobs where you do see yourself doing that for 15, 20, 25 years? It is in law, it is in finance, or these are the big ticket jobs. And so we do see quite a lot of people going from sales, marketing, and after the degree they move into banking and finance. Trading, we do see people who come from the trading floor or kind of back office on trading institutions. Okay, so I'll spend a few minutes to talk about how the program is structured. You have to take 2 law modules and 3 business and finance, 3 finance modules in order to graduate. So this is 5 modules in total, 2 in law and 3 in finance. Now I'm going to show you the modules available, but also depending on what's your background, there might be some modules that are mandatory for you, so they're not all electives, and some of them you just have no choice. All right, so let's look at finance. This is our finance stream, and there's 5 available modules. Introduction to finance, corporate finance, financial market and regulatory, investment and VC, and then anti-money laundering and counterterrorism financing, number 5. In this, you have to take 3. However, if you do not come from a financial background, if you're not coming from a numbers background, if you don't come from banking, finance, or accounting, we basically need you to take Introduction to Finance, and you will start with this, and you will kind of get into the swing of things thanks to Introduction to Finance, and then after that you've got 2 electives that you can pick among the 4 remaining topics. And that also immediately allows you to start signaling to the market, to start signaling to the recruiters out there the things that you're interested in. So for instance, if you think you want to go into compliance officer, anti-money laundering, clearly you're picking up number 5, anti-money laundering, counterterrorism financing, and try and understand what kind of transactions immediately ring the alarm bell, what is the process, what is the legal standard, or what are the obligations of the banks and the investment funds when they see a transaction that looks suspicious, what do they have to do, what can they not do, etc. Versus if you really want to go into investment funds, you want to get your SFC license. After that, you want to go into VC funds or private equity, then clearly you're into number 4, investment and venture capital, because this is probably what's going to best prepare you to take the SFC papers after that, to get your license as a responsible officers and RO with the SFC, and kind of jumpstart your career immediately after that. So it kind of depends on your background, and also clearly if you're more a numbers person, then you're looking at number 2, at corporate finance. Why do I not have my law modules? Here they are. And law modules, again, 3 of them are available. However, if you do not come from a legal background, we need you to take legal institutions and business law, which is exactly called a fun module. We look at a lot of different topics, and we really dive into a couple of things that you absolutely need. You need to understand how prosecutors work. You need to understand how the court system works, the role of the lawyers, the role of the jury, etc. We're then moving on to contemporary legal challenges in the business environment. This is my module. I really like this one. And so what it looks like is over 14 weeks, 14 different sessions, we're looking at 14 different aspects of the law and in particular business environment and business legal environment that is changing. So we're looking at things like artificial intelligence and what is the regulation, the legislation around artificial intelligence, how is it impacting the work of lawyers and companies. We're looking at free speech and the media and social media, and what can you say and not say on social media. We are looking at things like data protection and privacy and the recent criminalization of data protection breaches in Hong Kong. We are looking at a bunch of subjects like that, a different subject every single time, until we really have kind of conversation materials for any subject. And what we're thinking here is we want you to elevate yourself, we want you to better understand what's happening in Hong Kong, the law, the business environment, but also be able to show up at a job interview and kind of chit chat about any kind of subject. You're going to go after this program, during this program, you're going to go and apply for jobs at banks, investment funds, law firms, barristers' chambers, and in these kind of organizations, it's a lot of very, very smart people. They're very witty, they're very cultured, and they quite like doing job interviews. They quite like saying, okay, so what have you seen in the news recently? Have you seen anything you think is interesting? Have you read any court cases that you thought was interesting? What can you tell me about the IPO market in Hong Kong? And that is really going to be the model that allows you to just get out of this conversation and feeling like you've had an actual chat with someone and actually connected with them. So this is kind of a big part of the approach when we design this model. And then you've got current issues in finance law, very similar, but also very focused on finance. So crypto regulation, you've got Web3, you've got, again, artificial intelligence, but looking at finance and how much computers can trade, and what does that tell us about the responsibility of traders, the organizations, etc. We're looking at the evolution of financial law in Hong Kong, the law that regulates financial institutions. The pass rate, so I'll move a little bit so you can see it. We are looking at a 97% to 100% pass rate. It's obviously very high, and so that tells you something, right? And we really support our students through the program. We're not here to try and trap you. We're not here to try and trick anyone. It is challenging, and you have to study hard for it. But at the same time, it's not one of these programs where only half of the students pass the first time, and then you need to resit, etc. It's not where the focus is. The focus is on learning, not testing. Now we got some feedback from students, and they told us on the financial side of things, they liked that the lectures were enthusiastic and engaging. You know, it's important. You come here, study at HKU's place, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the evening. You don't want to sit through a boring lecture. You want someone who's a bit animated, who's kind of jumping around, who's got interesting stories to tell from the industries, from their years and years as professionals, and so that's really our focus. They liked the real case studies, corporate finance, venture capital investment. We're not studying dusty old textbooks, we're studying actual case studies of things that actually happen. And you know how it is. Perhaps you come from a bachelor in business, a BBA, you know how it works. The business schools now, they really teach with case studies, right? It's the Harvard Business School method, and everyone has adopted that now. And so we do use case studies and actual examples of things that are taking place right now in Hong Kong and abroad to understand business and law. In-person connection, and then practical industry insight. Again, you want that industry story. You want to feel like you're almost there. You're almost in the financial industry. You're almost at that big job in banking when you sit in the classroom and you discuss with your lecturer. The law teachers, they were not described as enthusiastic and engaging. That's interesting. But I do note it said they were highly professional. I'm glad that's my case. Law professional, the law teacher. And then the course materials were comprehensive, useful. That means you miss class, you can't attend, that's fine. You've got the materials, you can always fall back on that. Or you can't remember what happened in the lecture. You were too tired or you were late, then at least you've got your materials. And then again, case studies, case studies, case studies. We see that feedback here as well for the legal modules. What are the requirements? So it is the postgraduate diploma, which means you need a bachelor's degree. If you don't have a bachelor's degree, talk to us. We'll see what you have, we'll see what you've done, we'll see your professional relevant qualifications, but then normally you should have a bachelor's degree to enter into this program, or an equivalent to a bachelor's degree. So we look at the credits, the number of years you've studied, etc. The fees, we pride ourselves in being quite reasonable, especially because you kind of pay one by one as you go through the modules, and then it starts with finance at 7,700, and then the law modules are 10,900 per law module. So you see, we're not, given that you need 5 modules in total, we're not in something that's completely exorbitant. So we are less than 50,000 for the complete program. Very important, it's CEF reimbursable, so you know what it means. CEF is the Government Continuing Education Fund. That means once you sign up with us and you've been accepted, you put in an application with the CEF. It doesn't depend on how much money you make, it is not means tested. And you can apply for 25,000 Hong Kong dollars maximum of reimbursement. So that potentially would cover over half of your tuition will be reimbursable under the CEF. And so the application is pretty simple. I encourage you to go on the website of the CEF and to look at it. It's a fairly straightforward mechanism to get it. Any questions with that, we're also very happy to answer any specific questions on the CEF, the reimbursement, the fees, the payment plans, etc. Don't hesitate if you have any specific questions on this. All right, so next one, we're starting on the 7th of January, and I think we are the 2nd of January. So you have a few days to make up your mind. After that, it just moves by a couple of months if you're not in the January intake. But you know, it can be completed in less than a year. So if you didn't have any good resolutions for 2025, maybe you want about completing a postgraduate diploma, you sign up now and you can be done by the end of the year or before the end of the year. Right? You can literally have your diploma and start applying to these big jobs in finance and banking at HSBC, Bank of China, and places like that, or big law firms in Hong Kong as a paralegal or as a kind of operations specialist. This is really what we're looking at. We're looking at you moving as soon as possible into these big ticket jobs. And that's it. So I'll stop here. I'll see if you have any questions. And I think my colleague Lydia, who's in the room, will tell me if there are any questions. Because I don't have a monitor. All right, if you don't have any questions, then I'll ask you, what module are you excited about? I'll put the modules back on the room. Tell me which ones do you think will be interesting, which ones you want to stay away from as much as possible. Is there anything in there you think is quite interesting? You don't have to say my module, that's fine, I understand. Anti-money laundering, anyone? Investment and venture capital. If I was doing that program, I would be looking at investment and venture capital. I would want to know how such a small group of people, an investment firm, can make so much money investing into companies, and what's the transaction process exactly. And so we'll take you through the entire transaction process. We'll look at due diligence, negotiation, documentation, and then the signing and closing of the transaction, but also the numbers, right? How do we know that an acquisition makes sense? I think that's probably one of the modules I'd be more excited about. All right. If we don't have any questions, then I will leave you here. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for attending. And then you know where we are, you know where to find us. You've got all our contact details. We start the program in just a few days. I'll put it here again. In theory, 7th of January, so sign up before that. And then I'll see you hopefully in the classroom. Bye, everyone.